right, so to kick everything off, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. If you are a returning guest, welcome back. If you are new to our webinar series, we are glad that you could join us. So today we're going to talk about how to automate your AIA billing with Sage Intacct Construction. If you have any questions as we go through today's presentation, please put them in chat. I will be monitoring that. And we do have time set aside at the end to answer any questions. And also a recording of today's webinar will be sent out after the presentation. So a quick look at today's agenda. I'm going to do just a real brief introduction of our presenter and CompuData, and then we're going to dive right into the demonstration. And lastly, as I mentioned, we do have some time for questions and answers at the end. So we'll go through all of that. For those of you that don't know me, I am Justin Van Druff. I am a director here at CompuData. I am going to MC this little presentation today, but really the person that's going to be driving the ship, her name's Kayla. She is our Sage Intacct Consulting Director. Now, Kayla has extensive experience managing and implementing Intacct, but she is a recovering Sage 300 Timberline user and now helps our clients analyze their internal processes, develop efficiencies, and automate their workflows. So a little bit about CompuData. We are a woman-owned business. We have been in business for 50 years, providing business technology solutions for the SMB space. Along with construction accounting, we are also, which we're going to talk about today, we're also technology experts. So we specialize in optimizing complex operational issues through the use of technology so that our clients can run their businesses more efficiently. CompuData is a leading Sage Diamond partner. So we've been in business for 50 years. We've actually been partners with Sage for over 35 years. We've been helping clients with the upgrade to the most modern platform in this Sage lineup, which is Sage Intacct, for about 15 years now. Our team of certified Sage Intacct construction consultants have the expertise, resources, and methodology needed to support any of our clients. So we were recognized as a top performing Sage partner in 2022, really for our success in helping our clients leverage the power of Sage Intacct to improve their business. So that's a little bit about CompuData. I'm going to hand it over to Kayla to kind of take us through the demonstration agenda, and she'll dive right in to give you a live demo of Intacct. Kayla, to you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Justin. So a lot of our challenges that our clients are seeing are having to populate AIA forms out of the system, which can cause room for human error and missed billings. And those of you who don't know, AIA billing is a method of construction billing that accelerates payment to contractors and suppliers. There's generally two forms that consist of the AIA billing, and that's the G702, the application and certificate for payment, and then the G703, the continuation sheet that supports that certificate of payment. So during today's demonstration, we're going to be covering how to easily create a contract and contract change orders, simplify time and material billing using rate tables for fixed fee and T&M billings, and then how to customize an AIA billing template with merge fields. And that's all being done within the system and automated. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my video. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Oops. Let's see, oh, screen 3, there we go. All right, can you see my screen? Assuming that will be
yes, you are sharing, looks good.
Okay, perfect. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm actually accessing the job contracts right in our job module in Intacct. And if you're not familiar with Intacct, you have a drop down of all of the applications available to you. So today we're gonna just be focusing on the job contracts module. So if I come in here into job contracts, we can see I already have some, existing contracts here. We'll take a look at those a little closer later, but we're going to go ahead and add a new one today. So I'm just going to go ahead and, label the contract ID. This can be a document sequence. So if you don't want to input anything there, I'm just going to call this, the same thing as the project name. And then the jobs is where I'm going to map it to a specific job that's already set up in the system. It's going to default the customer. If I want to put in an additional description or job contract type ID for report purposes, right now I have this set up as fixed GMP or T&M. that I can do that. Or if I want to assign an architect to populate on the AIA form, I can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and make this billable because we are going to have some contract line items in today's demo that are T&M. And then any attachments that you want to include, there's a really nice drag and drop functionality, and then Intacct has its own archived attachment folders. So you can go ahead and attach those as well. If you wanted to add additional information, there's quite a bit of detail here to better track and be able to report on your contract in Intacct. I'm not going to go through these fields today, but we can definitely, get into more detail in a personalized demo on that. So I'm going to go ahead and save the contract. And again, this is just the header level contract details. I can add lines manually by, hitting the lines or going back into my contract and then scrolling to the bottom and adding within that contract. But I'm actually going to go ahead and do an import today to kind of show you how that looks. So my import file is, I have my project contract that I just created, my project contract lines. Again, these can be document sequences, or these can just be something that you freeform populate. The names of each of the contract lines, again, the project ID that's going to be on that line item, the item ID, our contract line date, our GL account, any retainage. We want to automate the retainage, if it's billable or not, and then the billing type. So this is where you can say whether it's progress bill or time and material. If there is maximum billing for T&M, then you can put in a maximum billing amount so that it will restrict billing over that amount. And then if you wanted to maximize the billing for contract lines, this is where you'd put that. And then I also have assigned the default rate table, which I've just named default. But you can populate a default rate table here, or you can designate a specific timesheet detail or purchasing rate table or AP rate table. So when I import that in the system, we'll take a better look at that as well. So then a couple other fields like scheduled start date, scheduled end date to also populate on the contract. So we'll go ahead and just save that as a CSV file. And we'll go ahead and import contract lines. And this is pretty standard import template functionality in Intacct. Anywhere where you're going to create a transaction, you have the ability to import through a CSV. So it's just that easy. And now we have our amount on the contract here. So we've imported 51,231. If I come in here into the lines, then I can take a look and we can see that, there's some of these that are time and material. We can assign specific cost codes to the contract line items for time and material so that the system knows what rate tables to assign to that transaction. So we can do that within the import, but I'm actually going to be doing that manually today so that you can kind of see what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and go into contract 4 here. And again, as long as we've assigned the time and material billing type, then we have a cost code tab here where we can add our cost codes. And you can only add the cost codes that are assigned to a project one time. So you can only map one cost code to a contract line. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and find GO9 310. So we'll just go ahead and add that one. So I'm just going to do one for now. So we have that assigned. We'll go ahead and save that. And then if I go into contract 8, it's also time and material. Then I can add a cost code, which is just the finishes one here. So again, that's automatically going to link those contract lines with a transaction that's posted to that cost code for time and material billing. So now that I've done that, so as you can see that since we've imported the contract lines, I can actually come in here and make any changes that I need to. So you can see that these are not grayed out at this point. There is this price effective date, which does take into account when you're going to bill. So if this price effective date is after the time that you're billing, it will not show up. And same with change orders. So any type of change orders that we apply will have a price effective date, and the system does recognize those effective dates. However, if I go into a contract that has already been billed, so this one here has already been billed, you'll notice that we cannot make edits to the lines. So if I try to edit here, it's actually going to be grayed out. So I can't make the changes because we've already partially billed that contract. So in that case, what you would want to do is we would want to go into our change management functionality. So first we would go in and we would create a change request. So here's a few change requests that have been done for this project contract ID. Let's go into the first one here. And what this change request does is it gives us the ability to link the contract price. So the price here is going to update the contract, where the cost column here is actually going to update the original project estimate. So it's linking this change to both the project estimate and the project contract, so that we only have to create one change request, and it's updating both for reporting purposes. So we can see this is our project estimate, it has all of our estimate lines that were original, and then down below, these are the linked change requests that are coming from that change request workflow. So now if I go hit done, it'll take me back to the change request. And then so we would first create the change request, and then we would go in and create a change order. The change order is where we would then assign the change request, and it would link the two together, and we can create different change request statuses. So for example, this one's approved, so it will be reflected. This one's in a forecast status here. So if we went and looked at that contract line, we would see that the revised total does not include the 7,500. So if I just go into this tab here, I can quickly show you. So we have our lines. This is for line 101. So it's currently 35,000. If I go ahead and change the change request status to approved and then post it, now if I refresh, remember this is 35,000, this is going to get updated to the 42,500. So that change request status is going to be how we can manage what's actually showing for reporting purposes. But it does give you the ability to link both the project estimate and the cost on the project contract. So now going back to the project contract that we added, going into some of the T&M lines here, I'm just going to go ahead and access the rate table. So again, we've prompted that default rate table. And as I mentioned, the default rate table does have a section for each of these different applications based off where that transaction is coming from. But if we wanted to differentiate it for any reason, so we wanted to assign it a specific timesheet rate table or specific AP rate table, then we could do that. If we go take a look at this default rate table here, then we can see that I've currently put in a labor rate of $50 regardless, just to make it really simple. But we do have all of the dimensions in Intacct, as well as union codes. So we have our class codes, local codes, union trade codes. So if we have different rate tables based off different union or local rates, or even employee positions, then we can use that in the rate table. So there's really no limit to how we can create rate tables in the system and use those to either assign a market percent or a labor rate table, or labor rate, excuse me. So for the timesheet entries, that labor rate's gonna be $50. And then I have a 10% markup for purchasing an AP, and then the rest of the billable transactions. So if I go ahead and save that, then what we'll do, now that we have our rate tables identified, we'll go ahead and go into our staff timesheets. We're just going to go ahead and duplicate one here, which is why I was assigning those cost codes, because these are the two cost codes that I linked. So we'll just go ahead and duplicate. And notice on the timesheet, we do have the employee position, the union class, union trade, union local codes. So again, if these are a part of your rate table, then that will, break out those rates for that. I'll go ahead and we'll just put in a few hours here. And notice that these are marked as billable. So this will default off of the contract line and project. But if we wanted to unmark those as billable, it's as simple as just unchecking. But we'll go ahead and we'll submit this. And then we'll also, once that's posted, we'll also go into accounts payable, and then we're going to go ahead and duplicate an AP bill as well. So again, this is to a cost code that we had linked in the contract, and notice it's marked as billable, meaning that that will come through as a billable expense. So I just got to change the bill number here, just out of 4. All right, so now that we've created those transactions, we can actually go ahead and generate our invoice. So we're going to go ahead and generate, we have a couple different options for how we can generate invoices. If you're using the AIA option, we would hit the job contract. This would give us the option to utilize the transaction definition called project contract invoice. We'll go ahead and choose our La Quinta Dallas, and we're going to actually bill through, we can bill through end of May. But again, if you're billing through a date that's before the effective date that's on those contract lines, then those would not be, those would not show. You can also change the filters that were based off the transactions that we're going to see. So if you only want certain reimbursable material, through a certain time frame, then we can do that from to date here. And then we can also change our display options that we're going to see when we preview. So I'll go ahead and preview. We'll have our due date, our bill to contact and ship to contact is going to pull from the project or customer. The current billing application number, this is going to be required. This is going to be our first one. So I'll go ahead and put 1 here. And then we'll see here, if you wanted to drill down into what's currently been billed or the XML detail of the contract information, you can see that here. And then any job change orders that we would have would show here. So that's just informational purposes, but you can see here that it's already selected all of our contract lines. So here is where we could populate percent complete. So if I wanted to do, 15% here, 15%, it would calculate completed this period. If you wanted to put in any stored materials entered here, then we could do that as well. Go ahead and we'll just bill those first 2 contract lines. And then down below, this is the summary of selected time and material expenses. So you can see all of the T&M timesheet entries that are coming through, and you can see the ones that have automatically been assigned to a job contract line. Those were the ones that I went back in and assigned the cost code to. So you can see that we can still choose a contract line for these billable timesheet expenses, but it's not going to automatically link unless we assign that cost code. And then we have our AP bills as well. So you can see that that 10% markup is here, and that $50 rate for ones that are already assigned also populated. So I'll go ahead and I'll uncheck the ones that aren't linked because they're going to error that we don't have a rate. And we'll go ahead and create an invoice. And actually going back into that preview, one thing I didn't mention was that we are able to bill retainage. So if I scrolled over here, then we can see that the retainage percent defaulted from that job contract that I imported. So that 10%, we can override that here, and we can actually retain or create a retainage invoice at the same time. So if we wanted to populate the retainage that was getting held into a retainage to bill this period, it'll not only create the project contract invoice, but it'll also create a retainage invoice at that same time. So you don't have to go back and create an alternative retainage invoice. You can do it all within one step. So that's a really nice feature that actually was just released in the last release. So now if I go back and I go into order entry project contract invoice, this is where my contract was successfully created. So you can see here, Bill Ricky Holdings. This is the one that we created. If I go into edit, you'll see not only the project contracts, but the time and material billing as well. If I go to print, then you can see it in that AIA format. And we can bring in any of the fields that are on this project contract invoice through the XML into this printed doc template. So anything that you see here, we've mapped it using merge fields, and we can change that or alter that based off of your needs. So this is a pretty standard AIA form document. So you can see the continuation sheet is breaking out the lines, but based off contract line. We can change this to cost code if you're recording them off cost codes, or we can change it to the line description. So whatever fields from the contract lines that you want to bring in here, we can absolutely change. And I actually have the Word document in a different format here just to kind of show the flexibility. So this is another AIA form format because they're all different. So each customer has their own format that they use. So this kind of shows you how easy it would be, to pick something up, to change it around. You can change the format. It's just in Word, and these are using merge fields. So all of these merge fields are what's available in Intacct, and this would include any custom fields that are added as well. So it's super easy to customize this. And then, like I said, the G702 continuation sheet, we can just replace these merge fields if needed. Let's go back here. So now if I go back to my job contract, Another nice feature of this is the ability to have the billing details right within this view of viewing your job contract. So you can actually see all of your job contract invoices that have been generated, all of the retainage released invoices, anything that's been received for payment, we can see that as well. And we have visibility to actually drill into that transaction and see the posting effect. You can see any credits that were applied, invoices that pertain to that payment, and then the payment details. So, project managers or project admins have access to all of this, right at their fingertips. You can look at the project contract, you can see what the last billing application number was. So just a ton of detail and visibility for people that need that. So I think we can go back to our PowerPoint presentation. Got one more slide to review. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. So why Sage Intacct CRE? So users can now depend on the system to capture important details from contract lines, and then you can automatically move those details into the project billing module. So basically, as you saw, it links together the contract and the bill in ways that the construction accountants have always wanted. So Sage Intacct now has the power to map project tasks to lines in a project contract. We have bill transactions that can now automatically be attributed to the corresponding project contract line. This makes it really easy to associate those transactions with the assigned rate tables to get markups and bill rates, as you saw. We can connect a project contract line with a project change and it's a price effective date. So Sage Intacct will only bill for the revised pricing once the change becomes effective. We can also generate project invoices that automatically incorporate relevant details from the project contract lines. And we can also customize templates to be consistent with customer requirements. So using those merge fields in that AIA format. So Justin, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for any questions that we have.
Thanks, Kayla. Yep. So we have actually a few that have come through. Two are very similar. So I'll start there.
Okay.
One was asked, is this AIA able to be uploaded to Textura or other project billing websites? And the other one that's kind of similar is regarding posting, can we post the contracts to the GL?
So I will have to follow up on if that's able to be uploaded. I mean, this can be printed in a PDF format. So if you're doing it manually in Excel now, then I would assume the answer is yes, depending how we can export this to Excel, you can print it as PDF. I would have to follow back up with that though. So I can get back to you on that if we can upload that, but I would assume that the answer is yes. And then absolutely the job contracts can get posted to the GL. You would just customize that through the items in the order entry template. And then in the project contract, there's actually a section for posting to the GL. We can also post to the GL our project estimates. Usually we're posting those to like a project estimate book. And then same thing with the project contract, we would most likely post that to a contract book. So it's not part of our accrual book, but we have visibility for dashboard and financial reporting to see that.
Okay. There was another question. I think we're going to need to follow up offline about this one. I'm not sure what the question is. It was about the budget screen and the job contract screen are independent values for budgeting and billing or SOV. I'm not sure exactly what the
right. So in Intacct, the project estimate is cost based, where the project contract is bill rate based, right? So the prices that we're anticipating billing to the client. So that is correct. But for reporting purposes, we do have the flexibility to pull them both. If your contracts are your budgets, right, then we can just pull those in as basically the same. So we can customize these for quite a bit, because I have had clients that don't necessarily use the project estimate as a cost-based and just use the schedule of values contracts as their budget.
Okay. I had a lot of questions about the recording. Yes, we are going to send out a recording after today's presentation, so be on the lookout for that. And then the last question it looks like that we have in chat here is, can we modify the retainage amount after the contract has been created?
Yep, and I did show that. So when we're previewing those transactions, we can just change the retainage amount that's getting either held or billed at the same time that you're generating that invoice.
Perfect. Well, that's great. So Kayla, thank you for walking us through all of that. We do have some additional resources available to everyone so that you can go and peruse those. We have some really good informative blogs written by our consulting experts on our website. So you should definitely check those out. Also, you should jump on LinkedIn and follow the CompuData page, right? So you don't miss out when new blogs or webinars are released. So join us on LinkedIn and follow us there. Lastly, where I'll kind of leave off with as we wrap up here. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us either by phone or email, or chat with us on our website. So you have those three resources there. So with that, this will conclude today's presentation. We hope you found it informative. And also, be sure to let us know if there's any other topics you want us to cover in the future. A lot of these are generated by the audience saying, hey, we're having problems with this. How do we do this better? How are we more efficient? And that's how we kind of select these webinar topics. So love to hear from you on that as well. So again, you can use these three methods to contact us and let us know what you think, or jump on LinkedIn and connect with us there. Happy to continue the conversation. So thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.